video, we're going to understand more about the find function. The find function is common to many Microsoft applications such as Word and Outlook, and is also available in many web browsers and other applications. The find function is particularly rich within Excel, so we're going to understand some of what we can do with find in Excel. I can find the find function within the Home tab of the ribbon. But the easiest way to summon the find function is simply using the shortcut Control plus F. Once we press the shortcut Control and F, we have this simple dialog box asking us what we want to find. Let's say, for example, I want to find any text within my document that contains the word total. I can simply type total and click Find Next. Excel will go to the first instance it can find of total within the sheet. This is the simplest way to use the find function. However, it's worth understanding there are many other options within find. For example, if I had a workbook with multiple sheets in it, it might be of interest to me to find any other instances of the word total within the entire workbook. So for example, if I had another sheet and add total here, with this option set to workbook, I will find this version of total, and if I continue pressing next, I will flip on to the other total within the other worksheet. If this is simply selected to sheet level, then when I hit find next, they will only ever find the one total on this particular worksheet. The other option I have here is the search by rows or by columns. This simply tells Excel whether you want to start looking in the first row, and then once you finish the first row, move on to the second, or perform a similar search by columns, looking in the entirety of column A before moving into column B. Unless you are using a huge amount of data, this search option is not really going to affect you. So you can just simply leave it on the default, which is by rows. Looking in formulas, this drop down allows us to match certain types of data within our cells. Formulas will find any characters within a cell. That is anything that will be displayed within the formula bar. So if I have a formula included which says equals total, and that equals total displays a result, the result will not be found, rather the total, which is the text within the formula bar, is what will be found. We have other options, which is to find values. So let's say I'm not interested in the formula, rather I'm interested in the result of a formula. I might want to find a value. For example, in this situation, I may want to find the value to 8405. Excel will find the value. And this would be the case whether or not that was a static value, such as the one we have written in, or whether it was a formula that calculated the value to 8405. The final option we can use is to find comments. If we've added any comments to our worksheet to explain ourselves, those search comments will be searched to find any particular values that you want to match. Other options that we have is to match by case. So for example, the default is unticked, meaning that we do not need to match case. That means that, for example, if I write all in lowercase, i.e. no capitals, and ask Excel to find, it will find total, even though this total has a capital T. If I apply match case and try that find again, Excel cannot find a match with the exact same case. If I remove the tick box, it will match my inexact total with a lowercase t to the total with an uppercase T. The other option we have is to match the entire cell or not. So by default, this is set to be not ticked. What does this mean? So for example, if I search for the word tota, which isn't in fact a word, but I know that tota is found within the word total. Excel doesn't require a complete match of the entire cell by default. So let's just move the cursor to another cell and try find total. Sure enough, Excel has found total within total. So it was not a complete match of the entire cell, but it matched the text TOTA within the TOTA of this total. If I apply match entire cell contents, this will no longer work because Excel needs every single character within the cell to be matched. If I add the L that is required and click Find Next, total is matched with total because the entire cell contents matches. Another very useful function within the Excel Find is the option to find all. Sometimes there will be more than one instance of the thing we are looking for, and we might want to find all reference to it. So, for example, in this situation, we may be looking for various instances of the sales region Central. Let's try Central. Now, we can simply use our standard options. Let's set that back to formulas so we don't get any unpredictable results. And I can hit Find Next. And by default, as I click Find Next again, Excel will simply loop through any matching criteria available on the sheet, and it will keep moving through the list. But if I want an overview of every single instance of Central all in one place, I can use the Find All function. The Find window will then expand to give me every single match for the word Central within the workbook. And each one of these references are hyperlinked. It's not exactly a hyperlinked, but it amounts to the same thing. Meaning that if I want to examine the found value of Central in row 39, I can click on row 39 and Excel will take me there. This can be useful for tracking different values across large lists, or even across one value across multiple worksheets. Okay, let's go back to our standard view and look at one final option within the Find. So far we've matched exact values within cells, but we haven't talked about formatting at all. From Excel 2007 onwards, we have the ability to also search for formats. So let's try and search for a particular format. First of all, there's no format set by default. Excel is assuming that you just want to find any format as long as the word is Central. Let's try specify a given format. I can either choose to mirror a format from a cell that is selected, or I can manually define the format. Let's manually define the format so we have complete control over what we're setting. Well, first of all, I want to find text that is bold. I want the fill to be black. That is, the background color of the cell to be black. And I want the font color to be white. And Excel has given me a preview of what that format might look like. Let's see what happens if I delete the Central and search exclusively for a format. I can press Find Next, and Excel has located a formatting area that matches my criteria. As I move through the Find Next, I can see that there's various other cells that match my criteria. All of these cells here, you wouldn't know it, but they also have a font white color. They simply have no text in them. And here we have a totals row that is matched on the basis of color, font, and font weight. That is to say, it is bold. So that is our review of all of the functions that are found within the Find function. A quick word also about replace. I won't go through the same functions again because they are exactly the same for replace as find. What replace allows you to do is to find a value or a cell that matches your criteria and replace that cell with another cell or with another format. For example, I could change the format here to change all of the cases of black background with white font to perhaps blue background with red font. Let's do something a little simpler than that. Let's find my original cell total and update it to total sales. But before I hit replace, first of all I need to remove the format. So I've set up what I want to find. I'm now told Excel what I want to replace with. Now, you would like to think that I can simply use the replace key to both find the instance of total and replace the instance. But in fact, if I just press replace now, Microsoft will tell me that it cannot find a match. So first of all, I have to find the text in question and then replace. As you can see, the value has now been replaced. There's another way to achieve this, but it's only wise to do this if you are sure that there is only one instance of the value that you seek. So I've changed my cell back to total, and I could scroll to anywhere else in the sheet, and instead of using replace, I can use replace all. When I use this functionality, Excel will find and then replace any instance of total with total sales. Let's just give that a try. Excel is telling me rather jovially that it's all done and they've made one replacement. Happy days. Let's go check that replacement has in fact been achieved. When using find and replace, it is well worth paying attention to that pop-up box that Excel displays. For example, if Excel tells you that it's made 1,793 replacements, then in all probability you've made a horrible mistake somewhere in your attempt to find and replace. For example, if I tried to change the letter pen in my list here, I would affect pens, but potentially I would also affect the item pencil, because the first three letters of pencil is P-E-N or pen. So you have to be careful when using replace all and pay attention to the result that it gives you. That said, find and replace all is an extremely valuable tool. At this point I just want to explain a very handy hint, something that can be very useful about the find and replace feature. In some situations we end up with data that we no longer want to see, and we cannot delete the entire cell because there's other information within the cell that we want to keep. It is perhaps a bit of a bizarre example, but let me pretend that I want to take this dollar value, currently displayed here in dollars, and I want to change it into cents. Well, to avoid confusion, let me first take off the currency formatting. I'll just move it to a standard number. These values are currently displayed as 2.99. Let's say to move from dollars to cents, I need to remove that decimal place. I don't want to change any of the other numbers, I just want to remove the decimal place. So the first thing I need to do is restrict my find and replace area. In this case, I only want to perform my find and replace on column E. I bring up the find and replace menu by using Control H. And in this situation I'm going to find a decimal place, a simple dot, and to remove it I'm simply going to replace it with nothing. Make sure that cell is completely clear. Now when I use the find and replace, we will see that Excel has now made 38 replacements. I'm happy with that number because I happen to know that I have 38 rows of data, so everything is well. And although Excel has automatically added 2 decimal places to my number, I can remove those, safe in the knowledge that I am now looking at cents rather than dollar values. As discussed, this was a slightly contrived example, but the usefulness of find and replace to delete certain characters from your data should not be overlooked. That now concludes our chapter on find and replace.